Hi, everyone. I'm here today to present some information to you about the government and citizenship in the city-states of Athens and Sparta. So first, let's identify where are Athens and Sparta again. Hopefully you'll remember that Athens is located right here on the Balkan Peninsula, and here, right in the middle of the Peloponnesus, or the Peloponnesian Peninsula, is the city-state of Sparta. And here's a nice image of Athens. You can see here, right, kind of in the center, this hill, the highest point, it's called the Acropolis. And this is where you would find the building, the Parthenon, the temple to the goddess Athena. So the four essential questions that will be answered today. One, who was allowed to be a citizen in the ancient Greek city-states? Two, what were the rights and responsibilities of citizens? Three, what was the government and culture of ancient Athens like? And four, what was the government and culture of ancient Sparta like? So before we get to that, I do want to ask you a question. Where does our government system come from? And hopefully you can guess that we can trace the roots of our government in the US back to ancient Greece. So what type of government do we have in the US? That's right, we have a democracy. What does democracy mean again? It is a form of government in which the people choose leaders by voting. So it is government by the people. Where did democracy develop? That's right, Greece, specifically the city-state of Athens. Who gets to vote in the US? So it would be all citizens age 18 or older. And who is a citizen here in the United States? It's any person born here or who becomes a naturalized citizen after they move to the US. So who was allowed to be a citizen in the ancient Greek city-states? Well, it would be limited to free adult men. They were the only citizens and had rights, their political rights. Women, foreigners, and slaves were not citizens and had no rights. What were the rights and responsibilities of these citizens in Greece? Well, we get our democratic principles, our ideals, our democratic ideals from Greece, including the importance of public debate and the duties of the citizen, so civic participation. And you can see here that the rule of the people meant that citizens were required to take an active part in government. So the people of Greece took civic participation very seriously. And here I love this little image. You can see this Greek citizen, he's voting, drop a white pebble in the jar for yes, and a black for no. So what was the government in Athens like? So this was the place that democracy began. However, it wasn't always a democracy. The type of government in Athens changed over time. And you'll see here on this flow chart, it actually began as a monarchy, became an aristocracy, then a tyranny, until finally a democracy was established. So let's go through those. And we do have a little acrostic to help us remember, MATD. And I'm hopeful that someone can come up with a creative mnemonic for us. You know, something kind of like, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally for order of operations in math. But this would be the order of government in Athens. So first, there was a monarchy, which is when the government is ruled by one person, a king or a queen, and it is usually based on heredity, which means that the rule would be passed from one member of a family to the next, typically a son, and then to that person's son, and so on. Then Athens became an aristocracy. This is a government ruled by a small group of nobles And nobles are very rich landowners, the wealthy. They are called aristocrats. They're the noble class. Next, Athens became a tyranny. A tyranny is a government ruled by one person who is called a tyrant. And a tyrant took control by force, often with the goal of reform. So, reform meaning changes to help the people. And there were two important tyrants that ruled in Athens. The first being Draco, who ruled very strictly. He had a pretty strict law code that people were expected to abide by. And actually, that's where we get the word draconian from. So, if something is draconian, it means it is very harsh or strict. And then another tyrant of Athens was Solon, and he ended debt slavery in Athens. And finally, Athens would become a democracy, or a government ruled by the people who participate in government and vote on the issues. Now, the democracy in Athens was a direct democracy, meaning each citizen votes on all of the issues. What was the government of Sparta like? So, hopefully, you'll remember that due to the geography in Greece, the ancient city states developed very unique cultures, and that would include the style of government. So, in Sparta, they had an extremely rigid social structure, that pyramid, and you can see this right here. Sorry for my little pop up there. But you can see the Spartans, the citizens at the top, the inferiors, those were people that were free but restricted, and then the helots, which were government-owned slaves in Sparta. The Spartans focused on the military rather than trade, so they built up a very strong military society. And they were ruled by an oligarchy. An oligarchy is government ruled by a small group of people. And in this case, it was men who ruled that small group over Sparta. And the last thing, I do want you to just remember that Sparta was an extremely militaristic and aggressive society. Okay, so very different from Athens, which established a democracy. And we will learn later about the cultural contributions that came from Athens during the time of the democracy there. All right, well, hopefully this helped you fill in the notes. I believe the notes for this section are on page 5 of your notes packet.